Everybody, this is Jason over here at 365 Athletics Training. Hey, real quick, I am going to take you guys through a proper squat. Yes, that's right, a proper squat. A lot of times too, people are afraid to do squats. I think that of all my years of training, I think I've seen people shy away from doing squats because they don't know how to do it properly, or they're just afraid of the load on their back or the bar on their back. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys 3 techniques and 3 tips that you can utilize inside the gym to help you perform a better squat. Now, by the way, squat's one of my favorite exercises. It is a total body movement. The reason why is because yes, it is a bending, lunging movement, so it's lower body dominant. But it's also an exercise that provides a lot of isolated contraction in your shoulders, your shoulder blades. It helps with your posture. It's a good pre and post rehabilitation exercise. So like I said, if you're not familiar with a squat, you're not comfortable with a squat, my suggestion would be to learn a squat, do a squat better. So first thing we're gonna do, the first tip I'm gonna show you is bar placement. So a lot of times, people when it comes to a squat, they utilize a bar and they do what's called a high bar squat. Now a high bar squat is great for a lot of knee work, a lot of quadricep work, but at the same time too, what we are gonna do for the purpose of programming here at this gym and the purpose of programming for more posterior chain development is do what's called a low bar squat. So the first tip I'm gonna tell you is you need to determine what kind of squat you're gonna do, a high bar squat or a low bar squat. Now a low bar squat, you put here on your shoulder blade, or you put here on your traps, and you're gonna basically roll it down to your shoulder blades, feeling where your rear delts contract, and that's where you put that bar. So if you look real quick right here, that's where you want that low bar squat. More of a high bar squat would be more up here on top of your traps. So that's the first tip I'm gonna tell you is learn which kind of bar squat you're gonna perform. The second tip I'm gonna tell you is loading and deloading and loading your hips. So when it comes to squats, I always have athletes start with learning how to basically sit on a chair. This is called loading your hips. When you focus on the hip mobility or the hip placement, all of a sudden you take a lot of pressure off your knees. So when you squat, you want to squat like you're sitting down on a chair or a stool. So as I squat down, I'm going to squat by leading with my hips first and letting my knees follow. So that's tip number 2 is lead with your hips first and then let your knees follow. When you perform that exercise, you want to make sure you have good mobility in your hips. If you don't have good mobility in your hips, my suggestion would be to get a wall ball and do more of a wall ball squat. It would be more of doing like box squats to help with that area. But the first thing you need to do is get mobility in your hips, have good posture, and leading with your hips. So that's tip number 2, lead with your hips. And the last tip I'll tell you real quick is driving your knees out. So a lot of times too, when people have squats, they tend to have a lot of lower back pain. And it's because they squat with their knees, they squat with their knees buckled in like this. So what you want to do is you want to drive with your knees out. So as I'm squatting down here, if I have the bar on my back and I'm going to load the bar up into a low bar squat, I'm going to drive my knees out just like this. So that way it allows my hips to open up. And as I come up through my concentric contraction, I'm pulling my knees up too, or pushing my knees out also. So the third tip I'm going to tell you is drive your knees out when you squat and push your knees out when you come up. Don't ever let your knees concave, or they call them knee knockers. Don't ever let your knees knock in when you're squatting up or coming down. So that's the 3 tips I'm gonna tell you real quick when it comes to performing a better squat is determine if you want a high bar squat or a low bar squat, drive or lead with your hips and let your knees follow, and then push your knees out on both the concentric and eccentric contraction. So I hope this video helps. Guys, thanks for checking it out, and I will see you guys later.